Hi, my name is Sharon Acoff-Sledge, and tonight I want to talk about what is a phenomenological study. Um, a phenomenological study is a qualitative research approach. Um, and in this approach, it explores lived experiences of individuals regarding a particular phenomenon. So it can be a particular status, occurrence, situation, whatever. Um, so in this particular type of study, it aims to understand the essence of these experiences rather than just describing them. This is rooted in philosophy, particularly in the works of Edmund Husserl and Martin Heidegger. They emphasize subjective experience as a valid source of knowledge. When should this type of study be used? This type of study is used when researchers seek to understand how individuals experience a phenomenon, especially when little is known about how people perceive, interpret, and make sense of it. It's ideal for topics that involve emotions and identity. For example, the experience of a first generation college student, which would obviously be different from the experience of students who comes from generations of people who have been to college. So me as a first generation college student had a different experience than maybe my great niece who is now a third generation college student. You can use this study to look at transformative experiences, maybe teachers transitioning to online learning, um, teachers going to school working on their PhD, those types of things. Things that would make the teacher leave the classroom or leave a particular job or whatever. Crisis or trauma related experiences. For example, we do need a good study on the impact of COVID-19 on students' learning and personal or professional development. So for those type of phenomena, you can use this type of study. What methodologies would you use in a phenomenological study? In this type of study, you follow a systematic process. You have to select your participants uh, and use purposeful sampling, as we discussed last week. And try to limit it to 5 to 25 participants with direct experience of the phenomenon because you're going to be compiling real life data, and that would be hard to do with a large sample as you would in a quantitative study. How would you collect your data? Interviews, observations, diaries, or written narratives, anything like that. Um, with your data analysis, bracketing to set aside biases to focus on the participant's experience, horizontality, um, treating all data as equally important initially, textual and structural descriptions, identifying what participants experience and how they experience it, and essence identification, synthesizing themes into a core meaning. What type of coding would we use in a phenomenon in this type of study? Um, Coding involves identifying significant statements and themes. You can use descriptive coding by labeling broad aspects of the experience. In vivo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, where you use the participants' own words. Thematic coding, so identifying core themes that emerge across all participants. Structural coding, which explores how different things relate to each other, and these are some of the common software tools that the textbook said is used for this type of coding, for this type of study. The advantages of this type of study is that um, you get a deep understanding. So you get detailed insights into experiences that people have lived. It's participant centered. It focuses on subjective meaning rather than external validation, and for flexibility. It allows for a natural flow of responses rather than locking people into a rigid survey type study. And you can apply this across discipline. What are the disadvantages? It's time consuming. To interview people and collect data is time consuming. You are probably at the mercy of your study participants as to how long your interviews last. And then you have researcher bias. It's difficult to fully bracket personal perspectives, and generalization is limited. So whatever you find is going to be deeply contextualized and sometimes may not be widely applicable. And then interpretation challenges. It can be subjective and may require multiple rounds of coding. What populations could be used in a phenomenological study? You focus on individuals or groups who share a common experience. Okay, so it could be us, first year PhD students, navigating academic pressure in an inaugural program. Um, Math educators' experience with student retention. That's kind of what I'm leaning toward for my research. Students with learning disabilities and how that affects their mathematical performance. What about veterans transitioning into civilian education? Alabama uh, relaxed their emergency certification requirements for veterans. They could have it over a period of 5 years, whereas I could only have it for a year when I came into education. So these are different populations that we could study with the phenomenological study. And different studies I could write, the lived experience of middle school math teachers in implementing problem-based learning, how first generation college students experience math anxiety, the impact of a growth mindset on student perseverance in algebra, how high school students experience AI-based tutoring in mathematics. That's something we're going to have to deal with in education, AI. And the emotional journey of PhD students balancing work, research, and family. So that those are some of the things that we could study. Here are the references. I found that the author of our textbook published something else that was useful, and these are my research things. So thank you so much for listening.